Hello, my name is Tanner Litchfield. I am an investor and an agent based here in Utah. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the Utah real estate market crash. Utah is a very unique real estate market for a lot of different reasons. We won't dive into all of that today, but in today's video, we're going to be talking about different aspects of Utah's market and what's going to happen. There's a lot going on. The election is coming up. The feds are supposed to drop rates in September. However, inventory is increasing at alarming rates and affordability, as you know, is astronomical. Just to put that into perspective, I did a video about how much you need to make to afford a $500,000 house in Utah, and $500,000 is actually below the average home price, which is wild. And what you need to make to afford a $500,000 house was 84 grand, assuming you had zero debts. So some wild numbers there. I'm going to dive into different points. Now, will the Utah real estate market crash? The true answer is no one knows. No one probably can even try and predict what will actually happen, but I personally don't think the real estate market is going to crash. You might be thinking, well, of course you're a real estate agent. Of course you're an investor. Of course, because I'm a realtor, you think I have a bias, and I totally get that. But my honest opinion is that the market will not crash because of these 5 reasons. Now, stick to the end because number 5 is definitely a personal opinion and it's a little bit off grid per se, but I think it's very relevant in the reason why it won't crash. So let's start with number 1. I got my notes ready because I can't memorize all of this, but I love studying these different markets, especially because I live in it. But number 1, Utah was ranked the number 1 economy by US News, not just last year, but the year before. So 2 years in a row. They haven't come up with 2024s yet, but 2 years in a row, US News has ranked Utah number 1 economy. So that's number 1. Now, a resident of Utah, I can see in my daily life the economy and how fast it's growing. It's absolutely wild. Coming from Seattle, where I'm born and raised, it's already a massive tech hub there. You have Amazon, Microsoft, a ton of other big companies. I can feel the momentum of Utah, and I think it's going to be absolutely massive for the real estate market. I live here in Lehi, which they've nicknamed Silicon Slopes because it's a very fast emerging tech scene, and I think that's going to continue to rise. There's a beautiful Adobe building right off the highway, and I think that sets an excellent precedence for what's happening at Lehi. There's a lot of startups that are booming. Anyways, I could go on and on about that. Number 2, the housing shortage. We have had a deficit of homes being built for the last decade, even more than a decade. After 2008, a lot of the builders got wiped out. They have not been building enough homes to keep up with the population growth. Now, how I see this, it's hard to believe, right? Because especially here in Utah, you see developments going up left and right, and you're like, what do you mean they're not building enough? It's wild, but the best example to show the housing shortage is the last 2 years, right? So interest rates in 2022 were 3.something%, right? And then within 6 months, they had doubled up to 7%. And what did the market do? You would expect a crash, right? But no, the market stayed strong, even though interest rates doubled. Now, what does that say to me? It says people still need homes. There is a housing shortage, and interest rates are not going to stop the demand. That was very interesting for me. And number 3, the reason why I don't think the real estate market will crash here in Utah is because of what you're surrounded by. You're downtown, you're eating good, modern food, and then in 30-minute drive, you're in the best ski resorts in the entire world. That fits a lot of people's criteria. And when they come visit here, especially come visit Park City or downtown Salt Lake City, they realize the vibes and they decide they're going to stay for good and plant their family. Number 4, the population growth. It is absolutely wild for a ton of different reasons, and this intertwines into reason number 5, which we'll get to. But the population growth. Utah was the number 1 highest growing state since 2010 till today. That's a wild stat. We are the fastest growing state since 2010. And since 2020, during the COVID blow up, we were number 6. So number 1 in the last 13, 14 years. And even in the past 4 years, we are still top 6. So what that tells me, people want to move to Utah, and I think they will continue wanting to move to Utah. And that gets me to reason number 5. And number 5, less of the numbers, less about data points, is the LDS population. And why do I think that the LDS population helps the Utah real estate market? Well, there's a few reasons. 1, the culture likes to stick together. If you're you're amongst a lot of other LDS members or Mormons, as the nickname has been called, then people like to be surrounded by people of their similar culture, right? So that's one aspect of it. Number two, if you guys know LDS families, Mormon families, one thing that you probably know is they're massive on families. They produce more kids than any other culture in America. And what does that do? It helps push population growth. The more kids, the more population, the kids want to stick next to family, and Utah is going up and up. So those are the 5 reasons why I think that the Utah real estate market will not crash. Take it or leave it. Anything can happen, right? This is my honest opinion, but if some massive events happen, everything's out the door. Right? So I don't think the market will crash here in Utah. In fact, I think it will continue growing a ton. Like I said, my name is Tanner. Make sure you subscribe. I try and give an honest approach about the real estate world, the investing side, realtor side, all of it. So make sure you subscribe, and we'll be back for more content.